I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again. But
Hey, what's up, fellow slaves? As promised, here's my video explaining why I believe we will never go back to the moon, let alone have a moon colony. Not in our lifetime, not in our kids' lifetime, not in our kids' lifetime, not ever. And I'm going to be able to do that by simply analyzing this one article, this Business Insider article, titled, "Astronauts Explain Why Nobody Has Visited the Moon in More Than 45 Years, and the Reasons Are Depressing." Before I begin, though, I need to apologize. I'm a little sick, so if I sound a little congested, it's because I am a little congested. So with that out of the way, let's check out this Business Insider article. As you can tell up here, I have a lot of tabs open, but it all revolves around this article. Here's the first thing that we have to acknowledge, right here. This right here, actually, this one picture proves that we never went to the moon. Just this one picture alone. What about this one picture proves that we never went to the moon? Well, the shadows. I'm sure that some people have heard that the shadows on the moon disprove the moon landing, but I'm sure very few have actually looked into why the shadows disprove the moon landing. So on the moon, because there's no atmosphere, you have no reflection. You need an atmosphere for light to reflect. Let's look at what Google has to say about atmospheric reflection or just simple reflection. Reflection is the process by which a surface of discontinuity turns back a portion of the incident radiation into the medium through which the radiation approached. Okay, so I'll just quickly explain this. So, it's not simple enough to have a white surface for the light to reflect off of. The light has to bounce off of that surface, and then it needs, as it says here, the incident radiation into the medium through which the radiation approached. If there's no atmosphere, there's no medium in which for that light radiation to return into and basically reflect the light. Okay, if you don't understand that, I don't know what to say, but essentially, you cannot have light reflecting on the moon, and that's why on the moon, you have a stark contrast between things that are in the sunlight and things that aren't. You have like black and white on the moon. So let's look at some images. Actually, you know what? Let's go back to this image. Let me give you some examples. So you see this block over here? This is what every shadowed area should look like. Okay, so over here on whatever astronauts this should be completely blacked out. This area behind his helmet, this should be completely blacked out. Arguably, this part of the flag should be completely blacked out, including this, unless this fabric is thin enough, maybe the light can penetrate through it. But essentially, all the areas that are not in the sunlight should be completely blacked out, like this area over here, like down here. You see how all of this is blacked out? That's how all of the areas that are not in the sunlight should be. Let's look at some more images of the moon. So you see this image here? It wouldn't be possible. This is all out of the sunlight. This should all be blacked out. Okay, let's look at some more images. Here too, all of this over here, it should all be blacked out. All of this should be blacked out. This back part of him, this should all be blacked out. Let's look at some more images. Oh, this one, it should all be blacked out. Or at least this side of his suit should all be blacked out. Let's look at some more. All of this should be completely blacked out. Okay, you wouldn't even be able to see him here. Let's look at some more. Well, this is a fake image, but this image is actually a little bit more believable, but not really, because once again, this whole thing would be blacked out. This whole area would be blacked out. But let's go back. This is basically another image. You know, actually, let me see something there. Okay, well, yeah, maybe. Okay, whatever. But yeah, this should all be blacked out on him on this side. All of this should be completely blacked out. What else? Okay, this image, I have this image here just because it's pretty odd how close the horizon is here to them. It's like, what are they, on the side of a cliff over here? You know, over here is pretty lengthy over here, but what's going on over here? And you know what? Let's zoom in on this image. What's going on with this? What's up with this black panel, and how come this black panel has this silver lining over here? And what are, what are these strings? I mean, maybe that's just an error there. But let's look more into this image. Let me just move this over. All of here should be blacked out. This should be completely blacked out. I don't even know what the hell this is. I think that you guys get the idea, right? But let's say for argument's sake, that those images were slightly edited. You know, maybe they brought out the contrast, even though even that wouldn't even be possible. There'd be no light there to bring out the contrast. Let's look at this video. Okay, let's see this video. Okay, so you see over here should be totally blacked out on him. Oh, what's going on? Oh yeah, so they're gonna put the filter over. This side of the lunar module should be completely blacked out. You shouldn't be able to see any of this over here. I don't even know what this white speck is back here, but whatever. But yeah, this side of him should be completely blacked out. So that's a video, okay? Let's go back to the article, though. Okay, so those pictures, that video completely disproves that those people in those pictures and in that video were not on the moon. Okay, but let's ignore that. Let's return back to the article, and let's see if we can find some... Whoopsies. Let me just close this off. Okay. So let's see if we can find some bullshit. Because honestly, sometimes the search for the truth is more often than not the search for bullshit. Sometimes it's impossible for us to know the truth. All we can know is that we're being lied to. So right now we're going to be looking for bullshit. Okay, so let's, oh wait, I might have to go back to the original tab here. Sorry, I have myself all ordered up. Okay. Should I think, I'll go here. Okay, so landing 12 people on the moon remains one of NASA's greatest achievements, if not the greatest. Astronauts collected rocks, took photos, performed experiments, planted flags, and then came home. So those photos we already looked at, they're bullshit. Let's check out those rocks. Oh, you mean like this rock right here? This rock that was given to the Dutch National Museum, and then when they finally tested it, like decades later, they found out it was just a piece of petrified wood. This rock was given to them by an astronaut. I don't know exactly which astronaut. I guess I can click on the article and look into it, but not important. So let's go back. So they collected rocks more than 45 years. Let's go over here, right? So this is a funny part. I just highlighted this part of the article because I kind of found it funny. So Vice President Mike Pence has promised that we will see U.S. astronauts on the moon by 2024, including the first woman to ever touch the lunar surface, in a program called Artemis. That's just the carrot. They love to dangle these carrots. It's like, hey, tax slaves, look, we're going to do this nice thing. Hey, we're going to put the first female astronaut on the moon. Just dangling carrots. Okay, so now let's look at what they say here. So this astronaut, the NASA administrator Jim Bridenstine. Okay, so let's look at what Bridenstine says, right? He said that the ambitious goal is going to require quite a lot more federal cash. That's right. Give them more of your money. You want to go to the moon? They need to fatten their pockets. Something that's historically been a political sticking point in Washington. Quote, if it wasn't for the political risk, we would be on the moon right now, Bridenstine said. In fact, we would probably be on Mars. Yeah, okay. Maybe you can sell that stuff to people like Styx Hexenhammer, but some of us, we can see through your bullshit. So then I guess the reporter asked him, so why haven't astronauts been back to the moon in nearly 47 years? And then he says this, it was the political risk that prevented it from happening, Bridenstine said. He basically is just repeating himself. The program took too long and it cost too much. This is a perfect example of brainwashing when they repeat themselves like this. It's like they're really trying to drive it home. They need more money. We're going to get to that though. Okay, so Bridenstine said, that's a major part of why President Trump has requested an additional $1.6 billion in funding for the current plan to return to the moon, which is largely focused on a lunar lander that at this point doesn't exist. Okay? The lunar lander, oh wait a second, didn't we just see a lunar lander before? Wasn't there a lunar lander in the picture that this thing started off with? Isn't this a lunar lander here? It's like, oh no, it just doesn't exist, but we're going to get to that. We're going to get to the rationale that they used for that. Where am I at over here? probably on Mars. We're over here. So largely focused on a lunar lander that doesn't exist. So we're going to get to the sophistry that they used for that in a second, okay? So Apollo 9 astronaut Rusty Schwarzkart recently told Business Insider that he wishes Bridenstine good luck with this goal. I guess with the goal of getting more money. He's like, good luck fattening your pockets. Accelerating something that ambitious is a real challenge, and it takes commitment and dollars. And that's what's going to be required. Yep. Come on, tax slaves. Just keep coughing up your money, all right? We've tried two other times. Administrations have tried, and they've been stillborn. What weird language. And then it goes into this whole bullshit about the moon and how you need a lunar base. So I don't know why it does this, because it's going to go right back to talking about money soon. But it does this little break here, okay? So let's check it out over here. So let's move on to the next part of the article. So NASA's 2019 budget is $21.5 billion, and the Trump administration is asking Congress to boost that to $22.6 billion in the 2020 budget. And then they say this: those amounts sound like a windfall until you consider that the total gets split among all the agencies, divisions, and ambitious projects. All of these agencies need to have their pockets fattened, okay? All of these agencies, they each have like heads of those agencies which get paid like easily over $100,000 a year. I can guarantee you that. So each of them have these different administrators, and they have all these like lower level people. All of them get paid way more than the average American. They steal the average American tax dollars, and then they give themselves a huge paycheck. And then they have the audacity to tell reporters like this Business Insider reporter that they need more money. Just like our congressmen, our senators, and all of our other representatives that should not be getting paid more than the average American. They represent us. If anything, we should just give them the average American paycheck. That's it, you know? But then there's this beauty right here, okay? So then it says, plus, NASA's budget is somewhat small relative to its past. NASA's portion of the federal budget peaked at 4% in 1965. For the past 40 years, it has remained below 1%, and for the last 15 years, it has been driving towards 0.4% of the federal budget. Now you have to ask yourself this. Why do they use real numbers here? They're given actual numbers here, 21.5 billion. And then here, they're giving portions of the federal budget. Why do that? Well, because it's sophistry. So let's look at this. What was the federal budget in 1965? I'm over here, as you can see, presidency.ucsb.edu. This is all legit information that I'm using, or at least official information. So let's go down to 1965 under the Lyndon B. Johnson administration. The federal budget was $116.8 billion. This is the budget receipts, I believe. Okay, so if you look at the top, we have fiscal year, total budgets. This is the receipts, okay, in billions of dollars. Okay, so go back to 1965, $116.8 billion. I did the math already. It comes out to basically $4,600,000,000 in 1965. And I even went over and I adjusted for inflation on this website. It's like some inflation website. What is it? I don't know why the website would be titled that name. Whatever. So this is a website. I guess it calculates for inflation. I don't know how accurate it is or how inaccurate it is, but it seems to be pretty accurate. Okay, we're working with real numbers now. So in 1965, we can say in today's dollars, NASA was getting $38 billion, which is more than they're getting paid today. It is more. If today it's $22.6 billion, it is more. However, it makes sense for it to be more because they were starting from 0 point then. There's absolutely zero reason why they should be having that same large budget. I mean, even now their budget's too high. Okay, there's no reason. It's not like they're starting from scratch. Okay, so then the article goes on to actually reveal something that's pretty incredible, because you have to ask yourself, right? So we haven't been back to the moon in 50 years, right? So that's 50 years of NASA getting all this money and practically doing nothing with it. You know, I mean, over that time, NASA has definitely accumulated well into the hundreds of billions of dollars. They've taken hundreds of billions of dollars of our tax dollars. I know we're slaves, and I know a lot of people seem to be happy with that, But we shouldn't be happy with that because it's all being wasted. Okay, it's all going to enrich people that do not deserve to be enriched. All that money could be used to make this planet better. Instead of trying to escape the troubles of this planet, we can be using that money to better this planet. But I digress. So, what's revealed here is actually pretty incredible. So, it's revealed how and why NASA doesn't get anywhere. And basically it says this, okay, so, but presidents and Congress don't seem to care about staying the course. Okay, so in 2004, for example, the Bush administration tasked NASA with coming up with a way to replace the space shuttle, which was set to retire and also return to the moon. See, I don't understand. They have a space shuttle, right? I'll just keep reading. The agency came up with the Constellation program to land astronauts on the moon using a rocket called Ares and a spaceship called Orion. NASA spent $9 billion over 5 years designing, building, and testing hardware for that human spaceflight program. So you have to ask yourself, okay, so we have a space shuttle. We have a perfectly useful space shuttle, at least it seems perfectly useful, according to their narrative. So why not just recreate it? You know, while it's still around, why not just create another one? You know, why not just basically clone it? But you'll see what they're actually going to say. Where is it? Am I over here? Okay, yeah, I'll get to that, okay? So then it goes on to say this, okay? So remember, this is what the Bush administration did. Spent $9 billion over 5 years designing this stuff. And then when Obama came in, it's great. I just love how they put these ads. I mean, like, these people really don't care. They're all about filling their pockets. I mean, with Mark Adderson says he found the silver bullet for weight loss. Doesn't look like it, Mark. So, after President Barack Obama took office and the Government Accountability Office released a report about NASA's inability to estimate Constellation's cost, Obama pushed to scrap the program and signed off on the SLS rocket instead. So, this is the problem, is that they're saying that every administration will come in and just scrap what the previous administration put money into. And knowing these people, when they say scrap, they probably mean that. They probably take all of the progress that they made in that time period, and they just throw it in the garbage. Like, yeah, just scrap it, just throw it away. You know, we need to make sure we keep getting funding. So, it goes on to say Trump hasn't scrapped it, that's not necessary, let's move on to the next thing. So over here they talk about how the lunar surface isn't fit for life. If we're going to spend long durations and build permanent habitats, we have to figure out how to handle that. It's like, Jesus Christ, you guys didn't I thought you guys did experiments the last time you were on the moon. So, there's also a problem with sunlight. For about 14 days at a time, the lunar surface is a boiling hellscape that is exposed directly to the sun's harsh rays. The moon has no protective atmosphere. The next 14 days are in total darkness, making the moon's surface one of the coldest places in the universe. A small nuclear reactor being developed by NASA called Kilopower could supply astronauts with electricity during weeks-long lunar nights and would be useful on other worlds, including Mars. There is not a more environmentally unforgiving or harsher place to live than the moon. And yet, since it is so close to the Earth, there is not a better place to learn how to live away from planet Earth. NASA has designed dust and sun-resistant spacesuits and rovers, though it's uncertain whether that equipment is anywhere near ready to launch. Once again, I mean, didn't they have a rover on the moon? Didn't they have spacesuits? Like, weren't they on the moon? It doesn't make any sense that they would have to completely start over. And then it goes on to transportation, right? So it's like, there's no question, if we're going to go farther, especially if we're going to go farther than the moon, we need new transportation. Hoffman added, right now we're still in the horse and buggy days of spaceflight. Like, people read this shit and they don't even question it. They're just like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. We're in the horse and buggy days, 45 years, or actually over 50 years. Actually, if you consider the first moon landing, what was it, 1969? So over 50 years since we first landed on the moon, but they still want you to believe that we're still in the horse and buggy days, and that the only way to get out of the horse and buggy days is to throw more money at them. It's hilarious, right? And then it goes on to say, I guess eventually things will come to pass where they will go back to the moon and eventually go to Mars. Probably not in my lifetime, Lovell said. They talked to a couple different NASA administrators and astronauts, and even this guy's like, yeah, probably not in my lifetime. This guy probably knows what's going on. Yeah, that's right. Not in your lifetime, not in our kids' lifetime, not in our kids' lifetime. And he's like, hopefully they'll be successful. Come on, bro, stop kidding yourself. Okay, so I think this is the end of the article. So let's go and let's find some bullshit as to... So let's see if we can find one more bullshit thing here, okay? So this is an article by Forbes, How We Lost the Ability to Travel to the Moon. So let's check out the sophistry in this article. Let's see the bullshit we have here. Let's see how much they are lying to us. See, the thing is, it's important, you know, if we were really going to go back to the moon, they wouldn't be lying to us even in these articles. You know, they wouldn't be whipping up this sophistry. Okay, so let's check out this bullshit article. I just had a huge clusterfuck happened. I accidentally closed my window. I got some water on my keyboard, on my mouse, and then it pulled up some window. Everything fucking closed down on me. I got totally fucked just now. But I'm going to keep this video going, okay? So let's look at this Forbes article. And we need to look at this Forbes article because it's important. Because there's bullshit here. And if we were actually going to go back to the moon, they wouldn't be feeding us this bullshit. They wouldn't be treating us like mushrooms. And by mushrooms, of course, I mean they wouldn't be keeping us in the dark and feeding us shit. Okay, so let's check this out. So this article is attempting to answer the question that was asked on Quora, which is, how did we lose the technology to go to the moon? Now, this article, or this question, is in response to a NASA administrator. I was trying to pull up the video of this NASA administrator that admitted that we lost the technology to go to the moon.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again. But we...
So this article is attempting to answer that, and look at the sophistry that this article uses. Answered by Robert Frost, instructor and flight controller at NASA. They should change his title to NASA's Chief Sophist. That's what they should change his name to, okay? Because check this out. Instead of answering the question directly, he comes up with this shit. Why does it take 3 years to develop a new car when it shares 90% of its DNA with the previous model? Why does it take 6 years to develop a new airplane when it shares 90% of its DNA with the previous model? The answer is that they are complex devices, okay? So right here, we actually don't even really need to read the rest of the article, because we know that he's misleading us. You don't need to create a new car, buddy. Just create the other thing that we used to get to the moon. I mean, if anything, it should be easier to do that with the advancements in technology that we have, right? We have better processors and all that stuff. But yet he's talking about a new car. Don't make a new car, buddy. Make the same old junk that you made over 50 years ago. I mean, they went to the moon over 50 years ago, and they apparently went to the moon several times. So clearly there was nothing wrong with their spacesuits. There was nothing wrong with the rover that they went up there with. I mean, they went there supposedly on more than one occasion, right? Exactly. It's never going to happen. Never in our lifetime. This is what's going to happen is they're going to keep kicking the can down the road. And then what will eventually happen is civilizations will collapse, like they always do, and then this will be a thing of the past, and then they could really use a good excuse, and then eventually they'll revive the carrot on the stick, and then they'll dangle it in front of another civilization and say, look, it was possible before, we can do it again. And then they'll use that to enslave a bunch of other people. It's like, yes, this is why we need to come together. Anyway, I'm going to end the video here. I feel like crap. I'm all congested. My nose is leaking all over the place. But I still want to get this video out today. I might take a couple days off. I got some schoolwork to catch up with. I really do want to get better too. So I'm going to leave you all here. I'll see you fellow slaves in the next video.